Well, there they are. There's an invite. That's an open invite. That's an offer I'm sure he'd like to refuse.
Oh, he doesn't have to, does he? The fact is, what she's saying, he knows exactly what he's done. From the people I've spoken to, yeah, he does know exactly what he's done. He's done absolutely nothing. He has no recollection whatsoever of meeting this girl. And just because Epstein, who we all agree is a disgraceful person, who's, you know, his conduct was appalling, he's a self-confessed paedophile. The Duke's mistake is that he met him in 2010 twice, after he was convicted,
yes, Robert,
and never again.
All we're getting is this in statement form, and as those lawyers were saying yesterday outside that court, it's easy to make a statement and walk away from it. But standing up in court, being cross-examined is a completely different thing. Would he subject himself to that? I doubt the lawyers will allow him to subject himself to it, but the fact is, quite clearly, there are huge discrepancies in this woman's statement. In 2015, a judge threw the whole thing out and said it should be stricken from the record. It was immaterial and impertinent and should be stricken from the record totally because it was of its unreliability. If you go through certain things in that statement, the most important one was that he was in Tramp nightclub with her where he was supposed to have been drinking cocktails and groping her. Well, he never met her. He doesn't drink. He's been a teetotaler all his life.
When you say he never met her, there is the photograph with his hand around her waist.
Well, so I know people close to him and himself. He insists he has never met her, and there's a serious question to answer about the authenticity of that photograph. You have to look at the fingers, say, or the heights the Duke's around. OK,
let's go to the USA. And there we've got Sam Rubin for his take on what is happening. Sam, first of all, how well is the Prince known in America?
Eamonn and Ruth, I think quite candidly, the Prince is primarily known as the former husband of Fergie, who is, of course, far better known in the U.S. than he is. So I think it's known, obviously, that he's a member of the royal family. To identify Prince Andrew by photo, I don't think many people could. So I think he's certainly known as a member of the royal family, but first and foremost known for the marriage to Fergie.
And Sam, you heard the lawyers there. We were just talking about that invite for him to come to America to be cross-examined. Could it go as far as him being extradited? What do you make of all of that?
An extradition seems, Eamonn, rather unlikely to me. What I think happens now is a continued probe of, quote, the enablers. Ghislaine Maxwell, Robert Maxwell's daughter, is the one who's been most identified, and we anticipate that she will be charged or certainly investigated in some fashion. Another enabler has also been mentioned. And so as you find people, this phrase they keep using, as part of Epstein's network, if they point fingers to the prince, then you might have the attorneys who are going after these enablers following up on those leads. I think what the woman said is very interesting. You know, quote unquote, he knows what he's done. Well, then it rests with him. If he's done absolutely nothing, then I suppose he doesn't have anything to worry about.
Would he come forward? Would he come forward now, Robert, and speak again? I mean, Eamonn said he's had a written statement. I mean, he's away playing golf, away with his ex-wife at the moment. Well,
the problem is he's been charged with nothing. A court has turned around and said he's got nothing to answer, and the claims that are being made are unreliable. Would you put yourself to that
Robert,
subjection?
But if somebody said to me that, and this is what she is saying, Miss Roberts, she's saying she was lent out to the Prince for sex 3 times by Epstein in London, New York, and his private Caribbean island. Now, how do you put that to rest? That is a heck of an accusation.
It is, and you can only put it to rest by denying it, which he's done on 3 separate occasions. I think if you'd been a member of if you'd been anybody other than a member of the royal family, this would be a court case that you would take on yourself.
Or slander.
Exactly.
Why doesn't he do that?
Well, maybe that will be something to consider later down the line.
Yeah.
But at the moment, I think that we've had a number of cases recently where people have made remarks about other famous people and claims against famous people that have been totally proven to be complete nonsense.
But you know, Robert, mud sticks and in the public eye and the charities and the work that Andrew does.
Yes.
Will this be affecting that and him?
Well, undoubtedly, it's affected him. It's affected his family.
Charities?
And charities, I understand that the charities have all been phoned by journalists and asked whether they're going to drop him. He's done an awful lot of good work with young people and actually done an awful lot of work helping girls that have been trafficked out of India with one of his charities. But the fact is, all of this is going to have an impact upon him. I'm sure he's considering all of his options. But ultimately, you have to rely on your lawyer's advice. But I believe that if he hadn't been a member of the royal family, that this would be taking a different course. And I don't necessarily think that the reports that are going out online on a regular basis would have continued.
I mean, he does say in his statement, during the time I knew Mr Epstein, I saw him infrequently, probably no more than once or twice a year. I have stayed in a number of his residences, and at no stage during the limited time I spent with him did I see, witness or suspect any behaviour of the sort that subsequently led to his arrest.
Yeah, and he saw him, the mistake he made, and for which he is apologised, and I think rightly so, and it is a mistake because this guy is a vile person. Epstein was going to see him in 2010, but we don't know what the conversation was between them. But abuse by Epstein, just because you can't be guilty by an association of knowing somebody.
Well,
I think the Prince of Wales and Diana used to go to Jimmy Savile for marriage advice. Look, that doesn't mean that they're involved with Jimmy Savile.
So at the very least, then, he is guilty of associating with a known paedophile.
Certainly he did so after the man pleaded guilty, and he did it on one occasion in 2010. That's when he was photographed in a conversation with him, and that he's admitted was a gross mistake, and he apologised for it.
Sam Rubin, what happens next?
What happens next, I think, first, the reverberations from this testimony yesterday. It was really, really extraordinary. We heard from dozens of women, all with similar tales. And I tell you what, as we're having this conversation, I think the photo of the prince and the young woman is suspect and is somewhat damning. I mean, I think that needs to be explained, although I suppose the prince has been photographed with many, many people over the years and certainly can't be expected to remember every single photograph. What happens now is the lawyers go after the enablers. And I think you will see charges filed, you'll see further investigations. And again, where do those investigations lead? And we really have not heard, with the exception of the prince and the possibility of President Trump, some have mentioned former President Clinton, we don't have any sort of ironclad accusations against others in terms of perpetrating the abuse. That remains solely with Jeffrey Epstein. But as this investigation continues, perhaps we learn more. Certainly people are paying very close attention to this. And these victims who are normally not heard from were absolutely heard from worldwide yesterday.
Sam Rubin, thank you very much indeed. Robert Jobson, thank you very much indeed. The Prince, of course, repeatedly and strenuously denying any wrongdoing.